Tristana League of Legends post-game commentary coming your way, this time with Morgana support. So, yes, another support game for the week, but this is one where you get to see the Caitlyn and the Kindred from the Alistar game, except they're on my team this time. Based on what you saw in that game, you may or may not be excited. From the tone of my voice, you can probably tell how I feel about it. But there are our matchups. We have Lee Sin top against Aurelia, Kindred in the jungle against Pantheon. I'm Morgana, partner with Caitlyn, bot against Tristan Annie, and we have Orianna mid against Victor. So a couple things to point out. I am not really ever excited to see a Lee Sin outside of the jungle. And seeing as I jungle more often than anything else, you can tell that I just don't like the character, I hope. Now, the other thing of note is that for Annie, whenever she's supporting the enemy, the pick I like to do is Morgana, because you can use the black shield to really shut her down. Basically, you can use the shield to absorb whatever stun spell she sends your way, and without her stun, she's actually kind of vulnerable. It's even worse in this Kate scenario because Annie has either 575 or 600 attack range. Kate has 650. So without her spells to initiate the fight, there isn't that much that really goes in her favor in the average lane. So right there is your clue that Kindred's a ball of rage. And unfortunately the annoyances actually only do grow from here. Now, I did mouse over the moves earlier so you can see them if you pause the video. I usually try to hover on them for about 6 seconds each. And I'll go over how Morg works. Your passive is a source of spell vamp. I don't remember what it's called, don't really care to remember at the moment. But your spells will heal you ever so slightly. And to put things into context for you, I think it starts out as something like a 10% spell vamp. And other than your Q, everything in Morgana's is AoE. So that means you actually only get about 3% spell vamp. Now, when you're dealing less than 100 damage, you can kind of see why it's not a lot. So right here they split their fire. That's what causes this to not work out that well for them. Thing is, Trist is pushing the lane in so we can deny her that way. It's going to become harder and harder for her to farm here, and I now have the Dark Binding at my disposal. Which is a good segue into the whole Dark Binding. So your Q is a linear skill shot, decent range, awkward hitbox that causes many players to rage. But if you can connect it, you will bind the enemy in place for a period of time, scaling off of the rank of the move. The move starts out at 2 seconds, I believe, and caps at 3 at max rank. So right there I landed the Dark Binding, but I couldn't really follow up on it. The important thing is we are whittling away at Annie. This is just not a favorable matchup for her. The thing is, in order to beat Trist, we do have to really crush the lane. Otherwise, she will outscale Kate. It takes her longer than some of the other AD carries, but not that bad. So sadly, right here, Kate is going to give up first blood. Or, no, Lee got it. And then I show myself out. So if Pantheon tower dove, he probably could have killed me, and there's no guarantee I could have killed him. I would have to use my auto attack to break his Aegis, and then hope the tower can do the rest. But anyway, with my kill gold off Annie, I can go ahead and pick up a Fairy Charm, Frostfang, and that's kind of it. That really surprised me, because I think Victor's in a really bad spot right now, and for him to actually get something off Ori is actually pretty big. But anyway, going back to how Morg works, I was at Dark Binding. Your W is Tormented Soil. You target an area on the ground, curse the ground there. And enemies who stand there take damage. The amount of damage scales off of AP as well as how much health they're missing. So, as a support, you're not really going to be able to exploit the whole execute aspect of it. But otherwise, it's a nice little trick for getting all of your stacks fairly quickly. And right here you can see I don't think I put the black shield up in time to block the stun, but we still took we took half of Annie's health just like that. And now we have the opportunity to just keep this pushed into their lane, or their tower. Okay, I'm putting the phone away and just focusing on the game. So, continuing forward, your E is Dark Binding. Like right here, I'm going to zone Trist, force her to take the long way around, and she's going to miss a lot of minions in the process. Thing is, Annie will collect those since her Q is pretty effective at doing so, but the important thing is it's gold and EXP denied from the hyper carry. So E is your black shield. It's a shield that only blocks magic damage, but the additional perk that comes with it is it blocks any CC cast while the shield exists. Even if the shield is destroyed as a result of the spell, the CC does not go through. So right there I actually blocked Annie's Q. So I'd say that was still a favorable trade for us because we can go ahead and do that. And that's pretty much it for Annie. She's dead. Unfortunately, Kate does burn her summoner spells to do so, but and we lose Kindred to Trist. So, I'm not entirely sure what happened since I was down here, but giving the red buff to Trist is actually kind of big. And finally, your ult is Soul Shackles. It's a tether type move, point blank type deal. Basically, your R will be able to be cast when there's an enemy within range. It'll create a tether blinking you and them. And from there, you can use the, yeah, I think Kate dies here. Yeah, she's dead. The spell does a little bit of damage up front, and then it does a little bit at the very end, I believe. I don't think there's any sort of damage over time aspect of it. But the spell is AoE. It can work on multiple enemies if given the opportunity. Unfortunately, I don't remember how long the Soul Shackles stun lasts if it actually successfully casts. But the important thing is it's not a channeled ability or anything, so you can ult and then Zonia's and the thing will still work as you'd expect. It's not quite like Death Lotus or any of the other channeled ults where using the Zonia's will interrupt it. You can see that our tower took a lot of damage here, and Trista's really good at knocking it down, and to make things worse, there's a red buff that makes it a lot harder for us to do anything down here. In case you're wondering, yes, I can block the slow on the red buff using my black shield. The only problem is that it does true damage, I believe, which the shield doesn't mitigate. You can see that Tristana keeps narrowly dodging these bindings. And this time I didn't want to zone her because, well, I wasn't sure if Kate was going to follow up and a bunch of other stuff. So you can see Annie has been marked. If you remember the Kindred player from the Alistar game, she loves to camp the bot lane. And I'm not entirely sure it's a good idea because we are trying to keep the lane shoved. Neither Kate or I have hard CC to knock them out of a Kindred ult in the event we do try to dive, so the important thing is the way Kindred's passive works, it's really easy to take Dragon and Baron. So we're able to pick that up really, really fast and fairly safely, all things considered. So it's not necessarily a bad thing to eat Annie's Q from time to time if you know you'll have a little bit of time afterwards to regenerate. So right there I used the black shield to keep Kate alive. So I thought I used it, I'm totally sure. But the important thing is, we pick off Trist, we pick off Annie, and then we go ahead and pick off Pantheon. So Kindred gets her passive stack, I get a few assists for myself, and we also get the EXP that comes from the minions afterwards, and all of this helps to push the lane further into our favor. And if you're wondering, yes, I am going to be going for Mikhail's here. Reason for that is just, there's a Victor stun, there's an Aurelia stun, there's an Annie stun, and there's also a Pantheon stun. So, it took me a second to remember who the jungler was. So, there is a lot of CC, and I can't exactly block all of it. So, getting the Crucible will allow me to give an ally a get-out-of-jail-free card for all the CC that's going to be coming our way. Another thing I've noticed, if you've been noticing the team comp, I'm pretty much our team's source of hard CC. Kindred has a slow, Ori has slow, technically a displacement with her ult. Lee does have his dragon kick, but we don't have anywhere near as much CC as them, which is why it's nice for me to be Morg, so I can use the black shield to keep someone alive.
They will suffer.
So Trista's been marked for death. I figured there was a ward here, so that's why I went over here to sweep it. That way, if Kindred wanted to stick around, she could. But I'm hanging around in the brush right here, hoping to maybe deceive the enemy and thinking, okay, Kindred and Morg are going mid. Victor, watch out. The other possibility is that it might have been enough to get them to come out of hiding. As you can see, that wasn't the case, but it was worth the effort. Of course, if they did have any sort of wards in the river, then, yeah, they'd know we actually didn't move up. So you can see Pantheon snooping around the bottom side of their jungle. With Grand Skyfall, he really can't jump down here that fast. So we're not exactly safe, even though the turret is so close to us.
An ally has been slain.
Do not dally.
I'm trying to remember how the Lee ends up doing here.
Rampage.
Share in my torment.
So there's the Scuttle Crab. You can see Trist in the bush. I'm not entirely sure what Pantheon was doing, but he goes down. And that helps Ori considerably since she was losing to Victor. And I'm not entirely sure jungler intervention was involved there. I think that might have just been a straight up beatdown from Victor to her. So right here we're poking down Annie bit by bit. I have my next round of spells available. Tibbers drops. And I'm trying to figure out who do I need to use Black Shield on. And you can see I use it on Kate. That in turn allows her to get through the Victor stun. Here's my Cell Shackles. And Aurelia shows up, Lee shows up. We're kind of out of options. But the important thing is I do get to use Dark Binding on Tibbers for the kill secure. I drop the Black Shield on Kindred so that Annie can't finish her off. And as you can see, that worked out really, really well in our favor. We traded our AD carry and mid laner for the entire enemy team, plus a tower. Now, if you're wondering what could happen that's going to make this game last 20 more minutes, well, you're going to find out shortly. So that bat gives me the chalice, and I decide to rush the Crucible. So I go ahead and pick up the additional mana regen. All things considered, I'm staying at something like 150% with 50% from the Frost Fang, 50% from the Chalice, and then another 50% from the Idol.
They will suffer.
Sadly, right now, all of this kind of is needed. It's just, depending on what happens in Season 6, you may not need as much. I'm probably not going to go into too much detail because if you've been following the previous string of videos, you'll know that I'm on the precipice of just quitting the game. So right here I was hoping maybe I could get something off Victor. I'm Not entirely sure where the wards are or if that was just luck, but he manages to evade the dark binding. You can see from how far the minions are chasing me, yes, it is warded over there.
Do not dally.
So right here I'm snooping around trying to find any enemy pink wards. And I can use my dark binding to wipe out a good portion of this thing's defensive stats, which will make it easier for an ally to kill. It's just the need never arose there.
They will suffer.
Yeah, we're 15 minutes in and it looks like Kindred has a sated Devour. Unfortunately, that won't help her against the enemy piling on her, but... So, that was a 3 for 3. Aurelia shows up to secure the fight, otherwise I probably could have finished off Annie, and all things considered, I generally like to kill Tibbers whenever the opportunity presents itself, simply because he's worth 50 gold. It's like a siege minion.
Without mercy.
So right here, my team is pinging that they're on their way. They want me to try to keep Aurelia here if possible.
I'll have
And that's all it takes. I use the exhaust there because her ult heals her based off of the damage she deals, so by reducing the damage, it actually did secure her death. But otherwise, I didn't need the Tormented Soil. I could just use the Dark Binding up close. I didn't have to worry about the stun because I was at lower health than she was.
They will suffer.
Like, that was not a good time for Aurelia to pick a fight. She did so, and it cost her her life. And at long last, I finally do land a Dark Binding on Trist. Granted, it is from the Fog of War, but that doesn't matter. And she's just in pretty bad shape altogether. So I wanted to try to save Ori. You can see that didn't quite work out. Unfortunately, we did lose Kindred as well. And once again, Kate has to burn all her summoners. Had I actually been maxing my W, I probably could have killed Victor there. But instead, we go 1 for 3. 3 of us for 1 of them. To make things worse, Lee's in such bad shape he can't really sit around to defend. And you can definitely see one of the problems with the mana regen system in its current form. I'm seeing at 150%, and you can see how crappy my regen it actually is. So right here, there isn't much I can do to save the tower. It's just, what can I get in exchange for it? The answer for that, of course, was Aurelia's life, but we end up trading Lee for that. It's just, Ori goes aggressive on Victor, with my black shield allows her to ignore his stun, and we manage to pick him up. So that's the closest we get to actually breaking even or coming out ahead. You just have to remember how many people we sacrificed in order to actually get those last 2 kills. So in the end it was like 4 of us for 3 of them. But then when you land your binding on Annie, you can argue we did go 4 in the end. With me and, I don't know who their survivor was. But the important thing is, right now, I have enough gold to go ahead and finish the Crucible. I'm only going to be using this a couple times in the game because the opportunity doesn't quite align. And I opt to go Zeke's Herald because I was wondering if we can actually get anything out of Kate. All things considered, I probably should have used it on Kindred since Kate's going to be DC'ing shortly. And you can see the various builds here. So I didn't make it in time to get an assist off Aurelia. And I'm just carrying Victor's ult away. You can see right there KDC'd. And she's going to be dropping in and out for probably like 8 minutes. So just a heads up. The thing is, without Kate, granted while she's dead right now, we actually can do this, but we should not be aggressive. Doing so just sets us up to put them back into the game, or potentially even give them the lead.
They will suffer.
Right now we have a good number of tower control, well, a good number of towers over them. We have the tower control advantage. We have dragon control, since we have 2 of those. And the other nice thing about dragon control is that does lead into other objectives, since you can either push harder or take towers more easily. So I want to take the ward out there so I can launch my bindings over the wall. Maybe get someone from darkness. Works a lot better for Nidalee, I guess. And right here you can see why being aggressive right now is bad. So I do pop the chalice. I literally burn everything here. And you can see that all 4 of us go down for just Victor. Generally, in situations like this, you should want to play defensively. For one reason or another, my team does not comprehend that when you're at disadvantage, put up a freaking shield. But unfortunately, the problem we ran into here is my team seems to think they're much more fed than they actually are. And, well, it's just a plain old-fashioned throw. So you can see that Kate is here, but she's clearly lagging from the way she's moving. Lee ports in thinking he might be able to get something done, but I think he just gives up another kill. Yeah, the enemy got the dragon, but he did kill Pantheon. So right there you can see Kate DC it again. She got her ult on, which is something, I guess. But we lose a tower, we lost the dragon, and all things considered, it's just not really worth it. So one thing we actually can do here is do the Baron. Due to Kindred's passive, we can take this really, really fast. And the reason why we actually want this is twofold. One is to deny it from the enemy so that they can't use it against us while we're down in person. And the second is by having the enhanced minions, it's going to weaken the enemy's ability to push in. The Baron, I believe, is a damage reduction to AoE abilities, namely the Victor Laser. So it's much harder for him to push the wave, and that could potentially buy us about another 3 minutes for Kate to get her act together.
Without mercy. I'll have my revenge.
A summoner has
And there she goes. Now, if you remember the Alistar game, she didn't have any such connection problems, sadly. But we beat her down the old-fashioned way, so it doesn't really matter.
Share in my torment.
So one disadvantage about this build, though, is my MR item is the Crucible, which isn't exactly a lot. As a result, Victor's laser actually does quite a bit of damage.
an enemy has been slain.
So Victor goes down, I get the assist courtesy of the Black Shield. And right there you can see how the Buster shot is really good. Once again, we stay here just way too long. You can see that Aurelia arrives to clean up. Once again, there isn't much reason to be aggressive when we are down a man. But the idiots can't quite grasp that. So right here, there isn't really much I can do. I do have the Baron buff to try to empower the minions. It's just with Aurelia's single target damage, she can actually still push decently.
A summoner
They will suffer.
So at this point, there aren't really any neutral objectives on the map for us. There's no Baron, no Dragon. For reasons I can't really stress enough, we can't push, and the enemy's minions aren't really in a position to actually take our towers just yet. So there's a bit of a period of downtime here where we can try to just play damage control. Right here I use the Zeke's on Cage. Like I said, in retrospect it probably would have been much better on Kindred. Thing is, I don't think Kindred builds an Infinity yet, so she doesn't get as much of an advantage out of it. To be completely honest, I don't even know if Kindred builds an Infinity, so in that case the Herald would be the only source of for her. So right there I give her the black shield so she can ignore the Victor stun. I end up dying, but the important thing is we get Aurelia here. The thing is, we need to get Pantheon for Kindred to get her stat. So even though I'm dying, the important thing is I still am getting assists, so I'm getting the EXP and gold to stay relevant. And I should point out, I am maxing the Black Shield second this game just because of the massive amounts of CC that the enemy has. And the other advantage, of course, is just by having a bigger shield, it's more difficult for Annie and Victor to pop. So normally I like to get Zhonya's earlier, it's just... well, we were in a bad spot to begin with Kate disconnecting for... might have only been 6 minutes, I'm not sure. And you can see the team sticks around way too long, they give a pair of kills. Actually, they gave up 3, Kindred died too. And that's pretty much the name of the game. It's just whenever we make a right move, the team wants to hang around and throw away any sort of advantage we picked up. And if you've been reading the chat, you can see that Kindred's going to be getting progressively angrier and angrier, so hopefully it makes sense why I ended up reporting her. With what happened in the Alistar game as well as this one, the player definitely needs to chill out. As you can see, without a lot of points in my soil, I can't do a lot of damage to Pantheon. You could argue what I did was actually quite considerable, it's just... if I had gone for a different build entirely, I could have done even more. It's just one of those opportunity cost things. So with that we have Dragon 3 that gives us more mobility. That's most important for me in trying to keep enemies within range of my tether. There isn't really another teammate of mine where it matters as much. You could argue Kate for trying to dodge a Victor laser or something, or potentially getting away from Aurelia. That's kind of it. So right here we were looking to see if we could get a quick easy kill. Unfortunately, I don't know where they went. I dropped my spells trying to interrupt recalls. The Frostfang Gold proc would tell me if I actually hit anything.
Do not dally.
But Pantheon just died, that's the enemy jungler. We could try to set up for Baron. I think ultimately we try to bait them in. Right here I'm doing a sweep to make sure that it isn't awarded. They need me in the brush right here just to make sure that there was nothing in there. So even though I was very briefly there, it was enough time to tell us that it was clean. We also get the ward over there to try to force them to come our way, and we can try to bait them in. Dark Binding is one hell of a catch tool, and that's kind of what we were banking on. Just doesn't materialize, sadly. Now, since they have no intention of... oh yeah, Lee gets caught out. No surprise, I hope. So I'm trying to remember how I get a kill. Okay, Dark Binding.
An enemy has been slain.
without me.
And while we're down Kate, as long as we have Kindred, we can take this very quickly. Thing is, we would ideally need Lee to tank it. We're gonna get Pantheon here, that's right. So Zonia's Hourglass, he's caught my Dark Binding, and then Kindred and I just beat the crap out of him. There goes the Spartan. So looking at the clock, there are 3 minutes left in the game. This is pretty much a prelude to the final battle. With a full 5-man team plus the Baron, we can actually push down the mid and try to get the inhibitor. Thing is, we do need minions, that's why I'm coming over here to try to clear these. Thought I used my soil, but I guess not. Important thing is, I now have the Zonia's Hourglass, so I can flash in and then ult. Also got the Distortion Boot, so I can do that more often. And we're in a pretty good position right now. The only thing left for me to do is sell the Frostfang, because this game doesn't... like, there isn't much benefit for me getting the Frost Queens.
Feel my pain.
Victor shoots from a distance, Triss can reposition with her rocket jump, and he's going to flash in anyway. There isn't really much for me to kite. And while Aurelia would be really nice to kite, the thing is, in order for me to use that, odds are she's going to be jumping on someone else. So right there she gets 2 stacks of her passive to give her tenacity to make the thing even less effective.
I'll have my revenge.
So normally I'll say Frost Queen is not necessarily a bad item on Morg, it's just this is a bad enemy team comp to build it. But anyway, right here I'm trying to fish for a catch. And here comes the final battle.
They will suck.
So Annie turned at the last second. I ended up blocking the Tibbers drop with my black shield. And that's pretty big. They're at a disadvantage now since they're missing one of their best initiations and AoE stun tools. So just like that, Trist, Victor, Pantheon all go down. Aurelia follows suit. That's 4 of them down. We have the minion wave right here. We have Baron buff. You can kind of guess where this is going. Right there, Kindred commits suicide, because why not? And I use the Tormented Soil to secure the assist. So that's all, folks. Annie using her ult on just me was a pretty bad call, but odds are she didn't know who all was nearby, so it was more panic. Anyway, that's it for me. I never got to use the Zonias, but we got to pick up another pair of kills, and there's nothing stopping us from taking the tower. And that's more support. So, ranked game, you got to see the other side of some of these players I play with and against. And I hope you guys enjoy.